love my HBCU. And boy, I love it, love it. I love it, love it. I love my HBCU. And man, I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. Yeah, man. I hope my team they won one. I hope my team they won one. I tune into the HBCU Sports Lab to see if my team won or lost. If they lost, I'm quiet as a mouse. But if they won, keep tab. I'ma do the dab, yeah. Dr. Cavil, he know what he be talking about. Mike and Charles, they know what they be talking about. They compress the analytic data with the hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they won or lost, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is back on assignment, but I have none other than Wilton Jackson II. We know he certainly can hold it down. Dapper Dandy's dozen, as they like to call him around these parts. Cleaner the Board of Health. Or is that a cleaner than the Board of Whistles? And we have none other than Charles Bishop, home team, getting it done there. With that being said, welcome to episode 719 of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, radio show and podcast, the show that's covering the sporting HBCU diaspora, all things HBCU sports for institutions large and small, from the NEIA to the NCAA. We share insights, information on the HBCU sports culture, HBCU athletic aesthetics, and facilitate the story of HBCU athletic programs in the business of HBCU sports. I'm your host, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, along with my co-host, Charles Bishop and Wilton Jackson II. We're filming from our home studios and sending a signal live to KCOH 1230 AM studios with the Texas Radio Hall of Famer. That's multi-Hall of Famer Ralph Cooper in the beautiful home of Texas Southern University from Houston, Texas. That being said, Charles, how you doing today?
We're doing well, Doc. Doing well. We got an interesting slate of games on tap for us this weekend. So looking forward to getting into it, talking a little bit about some of these matchups.
I look forward as well. We'll be major division heavy today in terms of those matchups. We'll maybe touch in a couple of mid-majors. We did a lot of that work on Tuesday. So we'll leave that a little open to you to see in the last segment if you want to go in that direction or not. With that being said, let me say Wilton Jackson II, how are you doing today?
I am doing good, Doc. Glad to be here. Some good games coming up this weekend. A lot of early season, like deciding games, not necessarily deciding the season, but kind of start to determine like who's really made of what and who's not, you know, and especially specifically on in the SWAC for sure.
I agree with you there. I thought you were going to say it was going to be delineation. I thought we were going to at least save that to next week, but you just said it would just give you another clue, as our colleague Mike Washington say, another data point.
Yeah, we can't push him off the ledge yet, like Charles.
the ledge is on your head. You got something. Today's episode of Inside the HBCU Sports Lab is sponsored by THG Agency, LLC. THG Agency is a company that provides sporting, education, consulting, and data analytics. With that being said, let's go into some HBCU sports news of the day and see what's hot and heavy, what's on your mind. I'm going to start with you, Charles. What direction do you want to go in terms of what's going on with you?
Yeah, let's look at our SWAC Football Weekly Awards for the week of September 30th, as the SWAC has tabbed Jackson State's Jacoby Morgan, the General, Texas Southern's Michael Akins and Sean Xavier Lewis, and Bethune-Cookman's Antoine Watson, and Arkansas Pine Bluff's Christian Peters for SWAC Football Weekly Honors. Let's take a look at the Offensive Player of the Week. The General, Jacoby Morgan, completed 21 of 31 passes for 68%. 337 yards with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions as the Tigers defeated Southern 38-13 with his 2 touchdown passes. They were for 51 yards and 82 yards. Co-defensive players of the week. Michael Akins had his best outing of the season with 8 tackles, 4 tackles for a loss, 1 sack, 1 forced fumble, a pass breakup, and a quarterback hurry, and a partridge in a pear tree. He had a big fourth quarter as he forced a fumble and stopped a potential Valley scoring drive while recording 2 tackles for losses and a pass breakup on his final drive. Also, co-defensive player of the week was Antoine Watts. Watts led the way for Bethune-Cookman's defense as he racked up a career high 13 tackles, 8 solo and 5 assists, as well as a forced fumble that was recovered by the Wildcats. He also added a pass breakup. Specialist of the week was Shanzabia Lewis. He averaged 41 yards per kickoff return, had 4 kickoff returns for 164 yards, including a pair of 52-yard returns, as the first helped set up Texas Southern's first score of the game. And the newcomer of the week is Arkansas Pine Bluff's Christian Peters. He finished the night with 323 yards passing and 1 touchdown against Alcorn State. He also showcased his versatility by adding 30 yards on the ground and capping his effort with a critical rushing touchdown. So those were your SWAC players of the week.
Good call. Congratulations to the SWAC players of the week. Wilton, what direction do you want to go in terms of what's on your mind this week?
So I'm going to go to the MEAC players of the week. You had North Carolina Central quarterback Walker Harris was named the MEAC Offensive Player of the Week. The league announced earlier this week. Norfolk State's Corey Chapman earned Defensive Player of the Week honors, while Morgan State's Raymond Moore III was selected as Rookie of the Week. North Carolina Central's Jaquan Sprinkle picked up Offensive Lineman of the Week accolades, and Morgan State's Jaden Carter was recognized as the Specialist of the Week. Harris from obviously North Carolina Central completed 21 of 34 passes for 288 yards and 2 touchdowns in the Eagles' 50-42 victory against East Texas A&M. He also rushed for 5 times, 45 yards, and a score, finishing with 333 total yards of offense. Chapman tallied 9 tackles, 6 solo, and an interception in the Spartans' narrow 3-point loss to Wagner. Moore was instrumental in the Bears' 24-17 win against Miles College, recording 146 yards of total offense. He rushed for 83 yards and threw for 63 yards, accounting for 2 touchdowns. Sprinkle led North Carolina Central, anchored an offensive line that did not surrender a sack in the road win against East Texas A&M. He graded out at 93% on blocking assignments as the Eagles racked up 457 total yards. And Carter sealed Morgan State's victory with a 94-yard return on a blocked field goal for a touchdown in the closing minutes against Miles College.
Good stuff. Shout out and kudos to the MEAC players of the week. We give some love to our lab listeners, starting with the YouTube side. Emma Jones says, good evening with the prayer, no doubt. Israel Kelly, Alabama State University, let's go. You're enjoying this right now, aren't you? G-Boom, midpoint of the season coming up this week. Yep, when you talk about the non-conference and conference games, you are at that point. Travis Jerome even giving us a little shout out today. Wilton dressed to the nines as usual. Yeah, the man don't do no threes. We don't waste no threes. His threes don't get money now. He gonna make sure he get it right. Yeah, he ain't gonna be talking. Shout out to Adam Spencer, Doc, gents, a late afternoon. Good everything from Seattle. Beat the Beholders. Go Pirates. I like that. Adam, shout out to you. I will be in Seattle in the first weekend, I believe it is, in November, in terms of that. And oddly enough, I'll actually be in Norfolk this week. We do our second HBCU lecture series there at Norfolk State University. Excited about what we'll bring to the table there. And obviously, since I'm there that weekend, I'll stay over and I'll get a chance to get a taste of the Norfolk State Hampton rivalry there at the FCS level. This time it's at Hampton, so I'll get to go watch a game at Hampton. And kudos as Norfolk State. Dr. Banks, Kerry Banks, is going to facilitate this event and helping you make sure that make it a full-fledged weekend. Shout out to PV versus everybody showing us some love. PV is 2-0 in the conference. He has the little finger there and says, don't tell anybody. Yeah, they're not watching. They going to know now.
All right.
Also, Charles Bishop, did you do the Texas Southern and Valley game? I can say yes, he did.
Yes,
I got a chance to listen to that, and I thought he did a wonderful job. I was excited about the call. Obviously, I always have an eye on Texas Southern, but listening to Charles gave me reason to check that out as I had my potpourri of screens up, making sure I was doing my due diligence with all the various games. And I had a lot of folks that gave some kudos in terms of what you did on the broadcast there. So I wanted to certainly acknowledge that and give you some kudos for that. Christopher Dukes has his cat, and that's Wildcat, I guess it is, or is that a tiger with the trophy? So He's looking at 2 times. So maybe that's Jackson State University as he's preempting this and saying they're looking to double down on what they did last. SWSSU Ram Nation, big game this week. Beat Union. I like that. I'd rather be golfing. What's up with HBCU fam? What's up? SSU Ram, Battle of the Bay, kind of tame this year, especially at the Hampton side, but maybe Vic's presence will amp it up. Good points by all. Let me shift back to you, Charles. What other direction may you want to go in terms of news this week?
Sure, let's take a look at this. And most attended games from week 5 of the HBCU football season, according to HBCU Sports.com. The SWAC took ownership of the top 3 spots on the list of the 10 most attended games of week 5 of the HBCU football season, with the State Fair Classic separating itself from the pack at number 1. Listed here as 56,210. I understand it was closer to 60,000 in that game. So kudos, State Fair Classic, Prairie and Grambling this past week. Jackson State and Southern had 27,487 in Baton Rouge. Alcorn and Arkansas Pine Bluff Southern Heritage Classic, 21,442 there. And Alabama State and Florida A&M, that clash at Bragg, 13,515. And over in the Hampton versus Elon had 11,158 people there. I lost my bearings on my conference there with Hampton. I was about to say Mia. And Elwood Waters versus Morehouse, they had 8,865 at that particular game. Johnson C. Smith, Bluefield State, 7,833. Delaware State and Sacred Heart had 6,400 people there. Howard versus Richmond garnered 6,293 people. And Central versus Lane, good number here, 6,234 for that contest.
Yeah, a little surprised at the Alabama State fam. You thought it might be a tad bit higher than that, but still a nice showing. Certainly saw Alcorn State Pine Bluff 21,000. Interesting as a classic. How do they feel about that number? Jackson State Southern 27,487. Probably down just a little bit, but very solid. And certainly Grambling State Prairie View doing their thing with 56,000. Some say closer to 60. But we'll take that 56 to 10. Not bad at all. Not bad. Terms of one of the big classics, putting it out there. Good vibes going around there. Before we take a break, let me go back to you, Wilton, and see if there's something else that you want to share that's on your mind.
Absolutely. So next week, not this week, but next week, we're going to get one of the biggest games probably in the SWAC in the season thus far. Jackson State and Alabama State was picked up by ESPNU, and this comes from SWAC.org. Southwestern Athletic Conference and ESPN announced the games that the network has been picked up for the weekend of October 11th, including Jackson State hosting Alabama State at Veterans Memorial Stadium for Jackson State's homecoming. The game will kick off at 2:30 p.m. on ESPNU.
Good stuff. Yeah, it's a smart one for them to pick up. I certainly know I'll have my eyes on that game. Man, if things could have felt a little differently, I'd have found a way to be there. 1 is Jackson. They always take care of you, boy. 2, it's Alabama State. Great matchup. 3, it's homecoming. And certainly never bad to be at a HBCU in homecoming, but particularly Jackson versus Alabama State when there's a lot on the line.
It's a lot on the line.
I believe they're going to get this one right.
But you got to get through this weekend. We'll see what happens.
That is true. That is true, and we will talk about that before we talk about these games this weekend in the next couple of segments, bringing us back to center. But, you always get excited about matchups. Nothing wrong with the media pushing out. Everybody else has to pay attention. But you also had Stan Becton, shout out to him, HBCU Players Rankings. First month of HBCU football season is in the books, and he had his top 10 HBCU player rankings. The reason I want to bring this up is because annually we do the Big Ben, and that's Ben L. Cavil Senior HBCU Football Award. For those that are not familiar with that, maybe have come and heard us talk about lately, that is, yes, Cavil, great uncle of mine that played football at Wiley College. I talked about him last week as we were talking about 100 years of the State Fair Classic. He played literally in that first 4 games, if you would, the State Fair Classic from 1925 to 1929 with the Wiley College when they were dominating the SWAC and added a National Black College Championship, 4 to 5 SWAC championships during that period of time, and a couple of national championships, a co-national championship as he played there. But we honor him in terms of a player that's from Texas or on a Texas HBCU team. And as I said, HBCU player from Texas that's playing out there, we give the award. So in acknowledgement of the top 10 teams, of those top 10, 3 of them are eligible and recognized this week in terms of the Big Ben Cavil Senior HBCU Football Award, which are Chris Mosley, running back from North Carolina Central, senior, Fort Worth, Texas. You have Andrew Body at Alabama State, quarterback, senior, Corpus Christi, Texas. And Quincy Ivory, defensive lineman, as you know, from Jackson State. The I love for those folks that are into saying it at this time right now. He's a defensive lineman, senior, A-Leaf, Texas. So I want to give a little shout out there. 3 of those top 10 folks are from the state of Texas and are on the watch list for the Ben Cavil Senior HBCU Football Award. Also, 2 that were not on there happen to be running back in there from Prairie A&M University, Chase Bingman, running back freshman from Terrell, Texas, and LeMay McDowell, running back senior from Charlotte, North Carolina, obviously eligible because he plays from Prairie. Keep it up because there's some guys that are looking at it. When you talk about the quarterback from Texas Southern University, as he's been playing some really good football, he's also on that watch list in terms of getting things done of what he's doing. So wanted to take a little time and give a shout out in terms of what that looks like. Incredibly talent in terms of KJ Cooper, the quarterback. Junior, 6'5", 215 pounds from El Paso, Texas, playing at Texas Southern University. These guys, keep your eyes on them. Could be some other guys that are added to this list, but at this point, as you pretty much talk about that first ranking, if you would, or halfway through the season, these are guys that are front runners to keep your eyes on to see who will land their hands on the coveted Big Ben Cavil Senior HBCU Football Player of the Year. With that being said, let's take our first break. Come back on the other side. Let's get into some of these games. Let's see what these gentlemen say and why we should look at it. Is they're going to tell you some players to watch, some things to think about when you're watching your favorite team or some other teams in terms of you looking at where you're going to be in the standings, if in the SWAC, and if in the MEAC, where you prepare to enter into conference play. We'll give you a little chance on some of those teams outside of that, mainly looking at the top 7, but we have some other games that they may have some interest in as well. Let's take our first break and do just that. Come back on the other side and talk about it.
Hello, my name is Jeremiah Williams, a defensive lineman, and I am a proud member of Jackson State University Tigers football team. Me and my team are visiting Las Vegas, Nevada for the HBCU Las Vegas Classic. We would love to dine at Chick-fil-A located at 9830 West Flamingo Road. I encourage you to do the same for great food, fantastic dining experience. The owner and operator, Ron Peterson, a graduate of Prairie A&M University, will be excited to have you as a guest. Go Tigers, go Swag, and eat more chicken.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy,
You're looking for the latest information on Southern University sports, the Southwestern Athletic Conference, and HBCU athletics. There's only one place to go. Tune in to the Carlos Brown Show, exclusively on the Black College Sports Network.
Planning an event? From weddings to corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC brings over 15 years of experience to make your vision a reality. Based in Metro Atlanta and serving statewide, even internationally, we provide versatile event planning and authentic catering cuisines tailored to your needs. Whether it's pre-game meals for student athletes, fundraisers, weddings, corporate functions, CMJ Events LLC is your one-stop solution for exceptional service and unforgettable food. Our diverse culinary heritage means we cater to all cultural tastes, dietary needs, and food restrictions, making every meal uniquely yours. Let's make your next event unforgettable. Visit us on all social media at CMJ Events LLC or email us at cmjeventsllc@gmail.com. Also give us a call at 404-664-3882 so that we can start planning now.
College football fans, a champion will rise in Atlanta on December 13th. MEAC champion, SWAC champion, the 10th Cricket Celebration Bowl, crowning an HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
Since 2002, Empowerment Resources, Inc., a nonprofit organization, has empowered more than 1,500 youth and adults in Duval and surrounding counties. Through its programs, Journey into Womanhood, Girls Mentoring, Life Skills for Teens, and parenting education coaching. To get involved with programs, volunteer, or donate, visit www.empowermentresourcesinc.org. Follow us on social media, facebook.com/empowerment.resources and instagram.com/empowermentJAX.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. HBCU Image, a Kenny T's company.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year. Returning to Atlanta on December 12th, 4 bands will qualify for the big stage, where 2 national champions will be crowned. Follow us for rankings updates throughout the season, and join us on December 12th for event and ticket.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with the professors, Professor Bishop, Professor Jackson II, taking you to school, if you would, in terms of some of these key major division matchups in week 6. Let's look at the top 7 to get started. Let's go ahead and bring it up now so we can look at some of these big time matchups. As we're pulling that up, let's look at the top 7 in terms of the matchups as we ranked them this past summer. At number 7, you had Delaware State, the Hornets coming in at number 7. At number 6, you have the Howard Bison. At number 5, you have South Carolina State Bulldogs. At number 4, you have Prairie A&M Panthers. At number 3, you have the North Carolina Central Eagles. At number 2, Alabama State Hornets. At number 1, the Jackson State Tigers. Gentlemen, we're not going to relitigate the top 7. I think you did a great job and told me what you thought of that. So let's get into the first matchup. It is a top 10 matchup. Oddly enough, one team is coming off a solid victory while the other one is coming off a tough loss. But I'm intrigued about what you say about this game. This game would have been in Huntsville, but it's moved still in the state of Alabama to Mobile. Equal distance. Some people may say actually closer for Jackson to go to Mobile than Huntsville. But regardless, you have 2 teams with winning records. Jackson State coming in at number 1. They've held that spot for 11 weeks. That's going back to last season for those that have short memories. The 3-1, 1-0 in conference play, and you have number 8, Alabama A&M Bulldogs coming into this matchup with a new coach that's gotten off to a really solid start. 3-2. They did take a tough conference loss. It was on the road, Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. And that's why they come in at 0-1. We'll go to you first, Wilton, in terms of your thoughts in terms of what are you expecting this matchup coming into this weekend?
Dr. Cavil, for Jackson State, from their front, I'm expecting a lot of offense. I just feel like they have so many weapons. And I think last week against Southern, we kind of saw a good display of what the Jackson State offense is supposed to look like and what we had been expecting. Because I guess you could say in the first couple of weeks of the season, it sputtered a little bit. We knew the running game was strong because we had seen that. But, everybody was kind of waiting on what Jacoby and Morgan and the passing game was going to look like. And we got a chance to really, really see that specifically in that second half of that game. And I think you're going to see a lot more of that against Alabama A&M this week. And as long as, Jacoby and Morgan has the blocking that he needs up front from his offensive line, and the running game is going to be strong, whether it's Denario, if it's Ahmad Miller, you name it. They have a stable of running backs that can get the job done. I feel like they have a balance offensively. They're going to be fine. I think more than anything, if you're Jackson State, you want to make sure that you are prepared for both quarterbacks, whether it's going to be Quad Brown and he's able to come back, or if you're talking about Eric Hanley as the backup quarterback for A&M, and I know I actually asked that question to Coach Taylor this week in the presser. He said he was going to be prepared for both. I think, but from an Alabama A&M standpoint, I think more than anything, you have to make sure you limit the big plays for Jackson State and what they're able to do. Obviously, you're going to have to be able to stop the run, and when they get in the red zone, they're going to have to be able to score because getting field goals in red zone situations against Jackson is not going to bode well for them. And just as a nugget of information, TC is Coach Taylor is 2-0 against Alabama A&M as his tenure as head coach.
That's a good nugget there. Charles, talk a little bit about this matchup. What are some key players we need to keep our eyes on as Wilton kind of broke down the framework of this matchup and why it's important, particularly as he teased out last in the first segment or last segment in regards to looking forward to next week. We need a victory for Jackson to kind of set things up in the first side. What are some players to keep your eyes on for this matchup?
Yeah, I think Wilton touched on it. I think the reemergence of Quad Brown for Alabama A&M. I think that's a name that I'm going to be looking forward to see if he's healthy enough to play in this game. Although Eric Hanley has played admirably in his absence, but I think they become a different team with Quad Brown, I believe, at the quarterback for Jackson State. I mean, they have a bevy of weapons, and I think to some degree they, for lack of better words, maybe Jacobian got unlocked last week. Was able to get the ball vertical and had some big plays downfield. But I think that's the big thing. Jackson State has, like Wilton touched on, a bevy of running backs, Ahmad Miller, Ontario Davenport. They just keep throwing waves and waves of running backs at you. But, to me, you've got to get a pass rush on both of Alabama A&M's dynamic quarterbacks. I think that bodes well for Jackson State. And like I said, week in, week out, I don't think the formula changes. They pound you with the running game, solid running game. And if they get up on you, it could be a long, long day for you. So it'll be interesting to see what Jackson State does against Alabama A&M. But I think Jackson State comes away with this victory comfortably.
Good stuff. The other side of the matchup to make the magic work is number 2, which is Alabama State. While Jackson State is at a neutral site, Alabama State is home for their first matchup. But they get a hot team, number 10, as this is also a top 10 matchup. Bethune-Cookman Wildcats coming in 2-3. They've won 2 straight after nobody thought they'd win really either one of these games, even though one was against a mid-major program that was really hot as fish grease, if you would. But Bethune-Cookman, things get a little bit hotter. You have a red-hot Alabama State team that's ranked number 2 in our poll rankings at the Major Division. They come in at 3-1, 1-0. So somebody's going to get another notch in terms of a conference win, but somebody also gets their first loss. So I'm intrigued about what your thoughts in terms of some of the names to keep your eyes on again, Charles, in terms of this matchup with the Wildcats versus the Hornets.
Yeah, I don't know if something's been unlocked with Bethune-Cookman with regards to their offense. Yeah. I think, that 28 points that they put up on South Carolina State in the fourth quarter, that turned, my attention towards them a little bit. But, once you start kind of following them, I think Cameron Ransom has been having great weekends. You take a look at what he did against Edward Waters, and then comes back last week against Alabama A&M. He goes 17-24 for 217 yards. But the big thing that jumped out for me with Bethune-Cookman was they rushed for 259 yards in that game. That stood out because I knew that they could get the ball vertical. They could get the ball downfield with guys like Lorenzo Jenkins and those guys, Mekhi Huggins. But running the ball, that caught me off guard. So I think it's going to be a lot closer than I initially thought coming into the season. But I still think Alabama State has enough weapons and a championship-level defense to really keep Bethune-Cookman at bay.
Yeah, I think that's the key word. You said defense. And the other part is, can Wildcats get enough defense in this matchup? So I'm going to go to you, Wilton, to see what your thoughts in terms of can Bethune-Cookman not just make this game interesting, but can they get it done, and what do they have to do defensively to do?
I think they have to be strong defensively in both aspects of the ball, specifically in the passing game and the running game. I think it goes without saying. We know the bevy of work that Andrew Body has put together in the first couple of weeks of the season. The guy looks unstoppable. I mean, this is what we envisioned from Andrew Body from, even back his days at Texas Southern to what we expected him to do last year before the injury, and he's absolutely doing what we expect him to do now. And so you have to stop him, not even just throwing the ball, but also ensuring that he doesn't, get outside of the box and make plays and use his legs to make plays. But then also people forgetting, I think we kind of saw a strong glimpse of this last week with Alabama State in terms of Jamari Hostclaw and their bevy of running backs that can, get the ball downfield as far as moving it in the ground game. So if you're Bethune-Cookman, you absolutely, of course, you got to stop Andrew Body, but you have to be ready to stop their running backs as well in terms of not limiting them on short down situations and getting them off the field. I think more than anything, if you're Cameron Ransom, you obviously want to get the ball to your playmakers vertically, but at the same time, you also want to make sure that you're converting on third downs to keep Alabama State's offense off the field. I think that's the best recipe for success. Keeping them away from the field, keeping Alabama State's offense on the sideline, and also playing solid defense as well.
Yeah, we're going to stay with the SWAC because number 3 in the rankings, North Carolina Central, is out of the MEAC, but they're off this weekend. So we'll slide down to number 4, which is a Panthers Prairie team that's ranked, jumped back into the ranking after a solid win against Grambling in the State Fair Classic. Nearly in front of 60,000 folks, as we talked about earlier. Prairie improves to 3-2 on the season. More importantly, in their eyes, is 2-0, as PV versus everybody made sure people were aware of. They're 2-0 in terms of the conference, and even more importantly, is a such a thing. They're 2-0 in the Western Division. They're the Alcorn State Braves, another division opponent that is 0-4 and limping into this matchup after losing against Pine Bluff, a Western Division foe, which makes them 0-1. The odd thing about this game is while you would say, hey, there's a chance here with the Braves, they're on the reservation, but these two teams have had the history over the last couple of years of winning on the road.
Right, exactly.
And many people don't necessarily go on the reservation win, but Prairie has found the magic touch, but the problem is they couldn't do it at all. Right. Anyway, with that all being said, wrap this in a bow for me in terms of this matchup. Sticking with you, Wilton, what are your thoughts in terms of the Panthers versus the Brave in week number 6 for these two teams?
I think if you preview more than anything, you just want to continue to build on the momentum that you have. And I think more so than anything, making sure that you protect the ball and create explosive plays from your quarterback and Tevin Carter and making sure that you find your weapons in Josiah Rockwell. Like I said, the offense, they've done enough to win games, but I think we need to see more of what that offense is going to look like for the Panthers, especially against a Alcorn State team that you look at Alcorn. This is still a team that hasn't found continuity on really either side of the ball. They have some players on defense that can make plays, but our offense is just has not been connected as one unit. And I think that, to you guys' point, the team on the road has had a lot of success. Where Prairie View, you're on the road this week. You get a chance to take your talents to the reservation, and you need to pick up another win. And so I think if they do that in that particular from those particular angles, and obviously when it comes to Alcorn, if you're Prairie View, you have to be able to slow down their running game. So you're thinking about being able to slow down Jacorian Sewell, but then also Jalen Tolbert and what he's able to do. If you limit those two as their biggest playmakers, I think you have a really, really good chance of winning this game.
Charles?
Yeah, I got the pleasure of calling this game this upcoming weekend, so looking forward to getting on the reservation. But when you stop and take a look at this game, a couple of firsts. This will be the first time Prairie View is on the road outside of the state of Texas this upcoming weekend. How will they respond? I think that's one of the things Coach Jackson talked about in terms of they're building an identity. They continue to build an identity. How do they play away from the cozy confines of Texas? And it's also a first for Alcorn. This is their home opener. First week of October, and this is a home opener. High school day down there. So how will they react to actually being back on the reservation, I think is a big storyline in this game. But you have to take a look at, with regards to Alcorn, Wilton, you touched on it, a lack of continuity on both sides of the ball. You're going to have to ask Jalen Tolbert to really open things up with regards to the passing game, and that's been a sort of a bugaboo. I think if you're an Alcorn State Braves fan coming into this game, you would have thought by now you would have at least had a couple of wins on the season when you take a look at Northwestern State that has not won in a while, as well as you would have been the favorite, I think, going up against Arkansas Pine Bluff, but to no avail. So this is a huge game for Alcorn. You can't have two losses in the SWAC West while you're looking at basketball season. So a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety with the Alcorn program.
He had to sneak that in there, getting familiar.
He didn't tell a lie.
Getting familiar with your point guard. Yeah, he wasn't lying. But he just had to sneak that in there. Let's take our second break. Come back on the other side. I'm going to shift to the next set of ranked teams, but it will take us into MEAC country. With that being said, let's come right back after this next break.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavil of Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
It's never too early to plant the seed, to share the tradition, and instill a sense of pride in your HBCU with your little ones. HBCU Pride and Joy Children's Boutique helps you share your school spirit with a wide selection of adorable kids apparel and accessories officially licensed from your favorite HBCU. Visit hbcupridejoy.com and follow us on all social media at HBCU Pride Joy on Facebook and Twitter.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
College football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit...
Hello, my name is Nick Howard. I'm a wide receiver and a proud member of the Grambling State Football Tigers football team. When I and my team are visiting Las Vegas, Nevada for the HBCU Las Vegas Classic, we would love to dine at Chick-fil-A located at 9830 West Flamingo Road. I encourage you to do the same for great food and a fantastic dining experience. The owner and operator, Ron Peterson, a graduate from Prairie A&M University, will be excited to have you as a guest. Go Tigers, go SWAC, and eat more chicken.
Yeah. I love my HBCU. And boy, I love it. Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab, coming back into the house. As you see, that was part of the program where we were able to provide some of these Prairie View, Grambling, Jackson State players coming back from the media day. We were able to provide some NIL gifts. So I'm excited about how that came together, and certainly intrigued about that Las Vegas Classic. Boy, I tell you, homecoming always finds ways to tug at your heart. Las Vegas would have been a perfect place to be. But we made it happen. I want to give a shout out to Ronald Peterson that really decided to take it up a level, do it a little differently in terms of how he could be a part of the solution and not the problem. With that being said, let's get into this next matchup. As I said, we're going to lean MEAC, but it's actually going to give us a chance to look at a team out of the SIAC, which is Savannah State Tigers that are 2-2, 1-2. For those that are not aware, they're a mid-major program, and on the mid-major side of the team, they are top 8 They are outside of the top 7, but right there receiving votes after they had a big win. Savannah State Tigers are 2-2. They're 1-2 though in conference play. Now they jump up a level, mid-major, going to a major division. Remember, about maybe 10-some years ago, this was actually a conference game out of the MEAC. As Savannah State moved from the independent level and joined the MEAC. And this used to be an opportunity for a really unique rivalry when you talk about the border between Georgia and South Carolina. Well, still up in the mix now. But the Tigers have a tough road as they take on number 5, South Carolina State Bulldogs, that are 2-3 overall. They did have a tough loss as they are on the road last weekend. With that being said, Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup? Can a mid-major finally get it done? We weren't looking at one last week, but it almost happened with Miles and Morgan State. Are we past that point, or can we find one in this game?
It makes it intriguing just because from looking at South Carolina State, what has kind of puzzled me is their finishing kick. You know, this is a championship level team, but let's go back to the Bethune-Cookman game. Gave up 28 points in the fourth quarter, which was, just stood out to me. Gave up 10 points in the fourth quarter last week to Charleston Southern. So I'm not sure where the disconnect is or whatever the case might be, but it does make this game with Savannah State a little bit more intriguing. I know it's South Carolina State's homecoming, and I don't know if there's a malaise right now within the program, but it certainly makes Savannah State going into South Carolina State. It makes it intriguing to see if a SIAC team could give them a punch and really kind of finish out a game. We saw Kentucky State close. We saw Miles in there with Morgan State. Is this the one where they actually pull the rabbit out the hat?
No, rabbit out the hat. Maybe they're going to pull a dog out of there, too. Wilton, can that happen?
No. I'm just going to put it out there. I just got to keep it real. I heard everything Charles said. I'm thinking, you know what? It sounds real good. But as a person who's watched South Carolina State over the last couple of years, and then of course just knowing the kind of coach Chennis Berry is, I know that he was probably irritated and annoyed about the fact that not only did they lose the game to Charleston Southern, but how many points that they gave up. And Charles, I like the fact that you listed how many points they've given up specifically late in games. You coming into homecoming in Orangeburg against Savannah State, and granted, Savannah State, great team, mid-major team, but this is not the week that, you want to be South Carolina State's homecoming. So I think that Ryan Stubblefield gets the job done. I think he's able to. I think their offense is able to bounce back and of course score and do what they need to do. But I think defensively, if I'm South Carolina State, I have a chip on my shoulder because the last couple of weeks I've been giving up a lot of points. Yeah. And this is an opportunity that you can really lay down the law, shut down an opponent that you're supposed to shut down, and get this win and continue to build that momentum that you need going into MEAC play. Because here's the thing. I hate to say it like this, but it's just the reality. Anything within MEAC play right now for these non-conference games, it matters, but it doesn't matter because those conference games haven't started yet. So to continue to build that momentum, making sure that you're on, in full sequence with each other on both sides of the ball going into conference play, I think this is the next step for them to be able to do
that. Wilton did the not so fast on you.
Yeah.
He's like, man, whatever.
Yeah.
They say Wilton, they sound good.
They sound good. They do.
Ram talks about Chennis taking it easy on his alma mater. I certainly didn't forget that, but great point when you bring it up there that he is playing his alma mater this weekend. Let's go to this next matchup. It's between number 7 as number 6. Howard has an open date this week, so we're going to slide to number 7, which features Delaware State Hornets. They're on the road, 3-2. They had a tough loss last weekend, and probably, like you said, with Chennis, Coach Jackson may not be feeling well in terms of the second half of that matchup. So you would think the Hornets are going to be ready to play, and they need to be because they take on a 3-1 Monmouth Hawks team, and they're going against that CAA. Used to be the Colonial Athletic Association, now known as the Coastal Athletic Association. We have 2 matchups like this one. One of them is a ranked team, the other one is not. So with that being said, sticking with you, Wilton, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup? Similar with South Carolina State in terms of Jackson preparing his team, although it's a different level of opponent as well.
Doc, I'm not going to lie to you. This is going to be a tough matchup for Delaware State. You're talking about a Monmouth team that's one of the top FCS teams in the country. I know this week coming in, they were a top 25 team in the FCS, and they have a lot of weapons. And that's no discredit to what Delaware State is able to do, because we know the weapons they have in Caden Bennett. I hate that he got ejected from that game last week. They had a good quarterback in Sorry that stepped in his absence, but they're going to have Delaware State is going to almost have to play a perfect game to win this game and really to stay in it, because you're talking about a Monmouth team that has a quarterback in Derek Roberson, a running back in Rodney Nelson, and a wide receiver in Josh Deary, that essentially when their offense is playing together, they are humming. So if you're Delaware State, you have to absolutely be able to do the things that have helped you win this game. And of course, that starts with the running game with Marquise Gillis. And then of course, if you're, with your Delaware State, Caden Bennett, you have to have almost a flawless game and making sure that you're scoring on most drives. Because here's the thing, Monmouth is going to score, or at least they're going to be putting themselves in position to score. So you have to be able to play almost great on both sides of the ball to win this game if you're Delaware State.
Charles.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it any better than what Wilton said, especially when you're talking about a quarterback like Roberson. Monmouth, they're going to score the football. And to your point, how do you keep explosive offenses off the field? You got to have a great running game and eat up some clock. And you do have to have sort of that flawless game out of Caden Bennett. And hopefully, when he scores in this game, that there's not some official out there willing to throw him out. I even when I looked at it again, I still can't believe it. So, I think this is going to be huge for Delaware State in terms of getting this running game up and going and really controlling the clock to keep Monmouth's offense off the field. So we'll see what happens with regards to that. But this is a tough one for Delaware State to win.
Yeah, Wilton went back and taking it with the hands.
I just want to give you a high five. That's a high five.
I've never seen that one. That was a horrible one. Yeah.
So with that being said, let's kind of slide through these games. I want to give you a chance to really break these down. But did want to mention you have Norfolk State Spartans 1-4 versus Hampton Pirates 1-3. Certainly good this is a rivalry game because the records would not necessarily get you excited. I will be in the house, so I'm intrigued about this matchup and what it looked like. It is the MEAC again against the CAA. This one is the HBCU version, so I'm intrigued of what that looks like. Both of these teams need a victory, obviously. Then you have Morgan State Bears against Georgetown Hoyas. That's the Baltimore versus DC. Obviously, private versus public. Intrigued about what this looks like. MEAC versus Pioneer. Morgan State comes in at 1-3, 2-3, escaping a victory. So you'll certainly know they're focused defensively in this game, but can they get some things going offensively? Jumping back into the SWAC, we have Arkansas Pine Bluff versus Texas Southern Tigers. We go deep into that Western Division. We have a couple of key Western Division matchups from ranked teams to non-ranked teams. Interesting to see what this looks like. Pine Bluff, as we said earlier, got that win over the Braves in terms of Southern Heritage Classic. Texas Southern went on the road, got a big cross-divisional matchup win coming from behind Mississippi Valley State, so they're feeling good about themselves, even their record in that Western Division as they're 1-3 overall and 1-1. Fascinating to see what this looks like. Somebody's going to get a chance to feel really good about themselves after this matchup. It'll be intrigued to see how that looks. Then you have a game that was supposed to be that won't be. That was number 2 FAMU, 1-3, 0-1. Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils, 0-4, 0-1. This game will be played, but it's moved now as originally played in Valley and then moved to Atlanta. What was going to be in the Mercedes-Benz Dome game was announced that it was moved, canceled from being a Classic game, the Georgia Classic, in terms of now being played at the end of the season in regards to that Thanksgiving weekend. So it'll be fascinating to see how that changes that dynamic moving forward. With that being said, let's take our last break. We'll come back on the other side and give these gentlemen some time to talk about a couple of key matchups and go a little deeper in some players to look at the mid-major level, those top games. We'll take a deeper dive of ranked teams and see where their heads are in terms of those 3 matchups, looking at Allen, Yellow Jackets, Benedict Tigers, a top 10 matchup with Virginia Union, Winston-Salem State Rams. WSS Rams was telling you that this is a big matchup. And then you have another one out of the CIAA, which you have Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls and Virginia State Trojans. We'll look at those three games in our last segment and tell you who to look at, why you need to keep your eyes on the mid-major in terms of what's going on. We would take the SIAC side, but those are games where you think overwhelmingly the ranked team is going to get it done. So we'll focus on those top 10 matchups, if you would. We'll be right back after this last break and do that just like that on the other side.
Hello, my name is Trevon Jones, a tight end at Prairie A&M University Panthers football team. When me and my family and teammates are out in Las Vegas, we like to dine at Chick-fil-A, located on 9830 West Flamingo Road. I encourage you to do the same, and for good food and a fantastic dining experience. The owner and operator, Ron Peterson, is a graduate of Prairie A&M and will be excited to see you as a guest. Go Panthers, go Swag. Hey, Emo Chicken.
Yeah. I love my HBCU.
Football fans, the Cricket Celebration Bowl is celebrating 10 years of crowning an HBCU national champion. A champion will rise at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on December 13th as the MEAC and SWAC champions clash in Atlanta. Join us for championship football, interactive fan experiences, and iconic marching bands. It's an HBCU family reunion that you don't want to miss. See who will be crowned the next HBCU national champion. For event and ticket information, visit thecelebrationbowl.com.
For over 30 years, HBCU Image has been more than just an apparel store. We've been a movement, a statement, a legacy. We celebrate the pride, the purpose, and the culture that make historically black colleges and universities legendary. Whether you're a student or a lifelong supporter, our gear lets you wear your HBCU story with confidence and style. Because when you wear HBCU Image, you're not just wearing clothes. You're wearing culture. You're wearing pride. You're wearing purpose. HBCU.
With over 25 years of serving our communities, Destiny Financial Services, a division of Global Life, is here to help you and your family through difficult times. From cancer care to accidental industries to cardiac care, we all know that there are times that you can't control what happens in your life, but you can be prepared to weather the storm when it comes. Call DFS at 877-300-8269 or visit the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com. That is 877-300-8269, or again, the website at www.globelifeinsurance.com.
ESPN Events presents Red Lobster Band of the Year, a title reserved for elite HBCU marching bands. A season-long competition that culminates in Atlanta on Friday, December 12th. Drum majors, percussion, drill, auxiliaries, musicality. All aspects will be examined by the toughest judges in the world of college bands. 4 will qualify for the big stage, where national champions will be crowned. Follow us on social media for rankings updates throughout the season. And join us in Atlanta on December 12th for event and ticket information.
Compress the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want to lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Bill inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Wilton Jackson II and Charles Bishop. Before we get into these mid-major matchups, I want to give a shout out as we did it on the YouTube side. Let's go into the Facebook side. Carol, shout out to Silas, saying good evening, everyone. PV in the lab. Emma Price representing Daytona Beach. We got Chuck Hunt always showing love to the HBCU program out there as well as us. Willie Alex Hine always there for the CIAA in the lab as well. My VSU Trojans took it chin against Fayetteville State. Yes, they did. If they'll bounce back this weekend. Lennon Blower. I'll be up there, as I said, Lennon, in Norfolk State. Let me know your thoughts on what's going to go up. He says, I hope my Norfolk State University Spartans throw those Pirates overboard in the Battle of the Bay this weekend. Behold, the green and gold. I like that. Overboard. Silas says there was a correction on the State Fair Classic. Attendance numbers was actually 61,139, as we alluded to. So certainly want to get that correct number out there. Great job, Silas, making sure we had that number. I did recall that they did say it's actually over 60,000, 61,139 to be exact. Significant difference there. Lavelle is in the house. Silas as well continues to do that great work. So showing love both on the YouTube and the Facebook side. So let's get back into it and get into these three matchups and see what your thoughts. We're going to start in the SIAC. This is intriguing in some way because both teams are undefeated in conference play. One comes in with the overall losing record, which is the Allen Yellow Jackets. So surprise people in some of those matchups. Two of those wins have gotten actually out of the SIAC, so they come in 2-0. But to play a number one team that's holding for the second week, that's really surprised us all, if we're honest, in many ways. Benedict Tigers are 4-0, 3-0 in the conference race, and they get a chance to make a nice, solid statement this week and certainly squarely say they're going to stay undefeated in the SIAC. More importantly, hold on to that number one ranking. Charles, what are your thoughts in terms of this matchup here?
I got Benedict. They've been a surprise. I mean, you take a look at it was kind of funny. The first couple of weeks of the season, taking a look at them, I was like, not too much offense, all defense. And then the explosion came out of nowhere. I don't know. Tuskegee was, the medicine that they needed, but they look like a well-rounded football team. They've been a pleasant surprise in terms of watching what they've been doing in the SIAC. So got to go to Benedict Tigers in this arch rival game.
Good stuff. Wilton.
I got Benedict in this game, and for many reasons. But for one, I went against Benedict last week when they were playing like Atlanta, and was I wrong because they sent a message. So all my Benedict fans, I typically don't go against Benedict, but I did. So I'm not going against Benedict anymore. And what they're doing, I think Darius Ocean has a strong game against Allen leading that team. But also, I mean, Allen definitely has the weapons. Jameer Dismukes, in terms of like they have a running back. Fabian Duncan, who can also get it done. So if you're Benedict, as long as you play defense, which they have a strong defense, we saw that on full display against shutting down one of the more elite offensive teams in Clark, Atlanta, being able to shut them down. So I'm expecting them to have a strong impact on defense against Allen. And again, if Darius Ocean and that offense can get to humming, I think they have a strong shot at winning this game.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Let's go to that next matchup, which is a top 10 matchup, which really gets things interesting. Seems like the CIAA is playing a top 10 matchup week after week. This time it features number 3, the Virginia Union Panthers, 3-1, 1-0. At number 9, Winston-Salem State Rams that are 3-2, 1-1. The Rams really need this victory. Can't afford to take a second loss in the conference play. And this one actually counts for both teams, so it means something. Surprise those other things, and maybe we can get a little action in terms of CIAA and the record to make sure we have this all squared away by the end of this weekend's games. With that being said, Wilton, sticking with you. You have a way that you're wavering this game. Can the Rams get it done at home, or the Panthers kind of show that they still plan to hold things down out of the CIAA?
Doc, somewhere I know Steve is probably listening to me and listening to all of us and trying to see who I'm going to pick. Yeah. I'm sorry, Steve. I got to go with Virginia Union and Coach Parker and what he's going to be able to do. I just think that it's going to be too much Curtis Allen in this game. I think they get it done, and so I'm going to rock out with Virginia Union. But I will say this. I think that Dalen Lee has a strong game.
Good points. Charles?
Yeah, I like that. Dalen Lee, I think he will have a good game, but I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, just too much Curtis Allen. Although I am looking forward to a nice little matchup when Curtis Allen meets Jamison Austin for Winston-Salem State. Huge game last week with Winston-Salem State, 13 tackles in that game. So they're going to be a couple of meeting of the minds in that game, but just a little bit too much Curtis Allen. This seems like he can sneeze and get 150 yards.
We'll stay in the CIAA. The last matchup I'll have you break down will be another top 10 matchup. We'll take number 4, the Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls, come in at 4-1 overall, 1-1 in the race. It's number 8, Virginia State Trojans, that are 2-2 and 0-1. The loser of this game really puts themselves in a difficult challenge moving forward to try to even get up to that number 2 seed. You can almost forget about the number 1 spot to guarantee you a place in the championship game. Remember, as you saw last year, and that's both in the CIAA and the SIEC, you don't have the divisions. You take the top 2 teams and you play it forward for a championship after the regular season. This matchup features, again, the Golden Bulls ranked 4 versus the number 8 Trojans. Charles, where are you with this matchup?
This is an interesting matchup, and Kevin Durham, tremendous game last week against Bluefield State. Went nuts, had 4 touchdowns, threw for close to 300 yards. But obviously, I think he's going to get a much better defense this week with Virginia State. Virginia State playing at home, trying to get, licking their wounds a little bit coming back off of Fayetteville State. If there's an upset for me this upcoming week, this is the one. I'm going to go with Virginia State at home to knock off Johnson C. Smith.
Go ahead, Wilton. Break down this last matchup out of the CIAA.
I think Charles hit the nail on it. If there was going to be a team to upset Johnson C. Smith, if in Virginia State, like he said, it's going to be at home, it could be Virginia State, but they will definitely have to shut down Kelvin Durham and what he's been able to do. Rashawn Matthews is obviously going to have a strong game for Virginia State. Brandon Rose, the running back. If you're Virginia State, not only are you going to have to play sound quality defense, but you're going to have to basically establish roles early too in their run game and make sure that you are keeping Johnson C. Smith offense on the sideline.
Got a couple of other games I want everybody to keep their eyes on in terms of the rest of the top 7. That is a SIC matchup, which is number 5 Albany State Golden Rams, 3-1, 2-0. They had Lane Dragons that are 0-4, 0-2. You got to believe the Golden Rams going to win. I would say they're probably going to win big. Then we slide back into the CIAA. You have a number 6 Livingston Blue Bears, 2-1, 1-0. They're at Elizabeth City State Vikings that are 0-4 overall and 0-1 in terms of the conference race. Blue Bears, got to believe they figure out to continue to kind of surprise folks and sneak themselves into the race to see how that looks going down the stretch. The last one takes us in a non-conference out of the Mountain East, West Virginia State. Yellow Jackets 2-2, 0-1. 1-0 it should be in terms of where they are in the conference race. They're West Liberty, that's 0-5, 0-2. Got to believe West Virginia continues to get it done. This is a West Virginia team that starts strong, fades oftentimes in the latter part of the conference where things get a little tougher with those teams that perennial at the top of the conference. Can they change things? We'll at least keep an eye on them this season, particularly as long as they stay ranked in the top 7. We'll see what that looks like. That'll do it for us in terms of the breakdown of the major division, mid-major games to keep your eyes on. Tune into your television if you can. Get to these HBCU football games as well as making sure that you tune them on. Talking about tune them on, that can be on ESPN in terms of streaming platforms, HBCU Go, obviously, as well as SWAC TV. Speaking of SWAC TV, catch us with Game Time this Saturday morning at 10 a.m. That is Central Standard Time, as we have Game Time and the gentlemen that bring that to you from BCSN with Roy leading the way. We'll give you some updates and let you know as some will be in certain locations to give you an update of the game day atmosphere. And with that being said, Game Time will be back on the road again, featured in terms of the featured game of the week. It'll be fascinating to see what that looks like being Brave Country. Fascinating to see what that looks like again. We want to say thank you for listening to Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you share our podcast with your friends and colleagues, I should say. I am Dr. Kenyatta, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington Charles Bishop. For all those on the road, I wish you safe travels. Regardless of that, stay safe, stay strong. Again, we want to thank you for listening to Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington Charles Bishop every Tuesday and Thursday at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time. Sunday, as we give you the major division top 7 in the next week's ranking. This time we'll look at week number 7. That is 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'll be in Norfolk. I want to shout out Wilton Jackson II, give him a bit of his time, making sure he comes in and bringing up the cleanness of the program in terms of being nice with it, his dress code. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Threads, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DRKENYATTACAVIL. DRKENYATTACAVIL. That's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Facebook, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Wilton?
Lecture.
Dismissed.